you're doing well. My name is Katie and I make book-related videos every single Wednesday, and a coincidence happened recently where you guys know I love psychological thrillers. I have reviews of tons of them on my channel. Well, I happened to read 2 in a row recently with similar plot lines. They're both psychological thrillers. They both had female protagonists where they were kind of running away or had a man coming after them. And they had the third similarity in that they were not very good. I really enjoy filming negative book reviews, and before anyone says I'm sadistic and that's bad, you wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't like watching these two. I think we all deep down like watching negative reviews of anything, be it books, makeup, whatever. So I'm gonna review both of these books spoiler free, and I will say up front, I didn't think the writing of either of these books was bad. I actually enjoyed the writing of both, so I'm not trying to say that either of these authors are terrible writers. I actually would read their books in the future. It was just the plots of these books I just thought were insane and not in a good way, unfortunately. So the first book we have is Behind Closed Doors, and unfortunately this book and I started off right off on a bad foot because I read the summary and it went something like this. It said Jack and what was her name? I already forgot because she was kind of dull. Jack and Grace live in England. They have this seemingly perfect marriage, but why can't Grace ever answer the phone? Why can't Grace ever meet her friends for coffee? And then after that I read a book review where someone, I think in all caps, gave it 5 stars and said, "You will not believe the twist that happens in this book. If you read the summary, it's just not going to be what you expect based off of that. You're never going to believe what happened." And then so I'm reading the book, I keep waiting for this twist to happen, I keep waiting for whatever shocking revelation it is to happen, and then I finished the book, closed it, and thought, yes, I could have guessed what this book was about because it's exactly what the summary said. So I don't think this is a spoiler to say this because I think the author's very upfront with this, and you know, when you read the flap on the inside of the book, this is a story of a woman who's essentially trapped by her husband. You know, that's not a spoiler. I know people on BookTube are very sensitive to spoilers, but you know, common sense can tell you that that's what the book is based off the summary. No one's tricking anyone here. That was a very long intro to this book, but that's not actually why I disliked it. So my first issue with this book was that there's very little going on besides her simply being trapped by her husband, and neither of these characters are remotely interesting. They're both just oatmeal people. Jack, I didn't think was a very interesting villain. I mean, if the book is gonna be centered around this crazy guy who's terrorizing his wife, it would be helpful if he was interesting, but he just felt like a caricature of a villain. I just never really took him seriously. I almost kind of would laugh at things he said. So much of this book, and this is another reason I disliked it, was so much over explanation, and I'm trying to think of a way to describe this without spoiling anything, but say the couple is hosting a dinner party. Jack would say something to, I already forgot her name, oh my god. Jack would say something to Grace in front of everybody else like, oh, are you excited to go to your room tonight? And it's very obvious that that's actually a negative thing because she's not excited to go be trapped in her room. But anytime Jack would say something like that with a double meaning, she would over explain it and just tell the reader, oh, this is why he's saying that. He's not actually meaning it that way. And or say anytime Grace plans some type of escape, the author would just explain it in such extensive detail, and I just wanted to be like, it's not confusing, we get it. So overall, even though I did enjoy the writing style, I just really disliked the plot, I really disliked the characters, so I just didn't end up enjoying this book whatsoever. Now the next book also has to do with a husband who's terrorizing his wife, so I guess that was a bit of a theme I had this month. But the next book is Sweet Lamb of Heaven, and I have an odd relationship with this book because part of it I loved and I thought was so fascinating, and the other main aspect of the book I thought was terrible. So the writing in this book was very good, I will say. If I was rating this just off of the writing, I would probably even give it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. But there are 2 main aspects of this book, as I said. They're both centered around this woman named Anna. She's a young mother. But the most fascinating aspect of this book is that one day Anna has sort of a stream of consciousness words running through her head. Sometimes it's in different languages and she doesn't understand, am I schizophrenic? What is going on here? She goes through all these interesting theories, and obviously I'm not going to tell you in the end what it ends up being, but it's so interesting and it's an idea that I had never seen or heard of before, whether it be in a book or a movie. So that was fascinating and I was so interested to see how that played out. And so I thought that aspect of the book was so unique and wonderful. But then the other main aspect of this book is similar to actually the book I just reviewed prior, where a really horrific marriage is going on. Anna marries this beautiful man named Ned. They have a daughter, which he's not really interested in ever having a child. He loses interest in Anna and the child. She realizes she was never really in love with him. This is all kind of backstory that happens. So they part ways, and it's kind of okay. They're both like, whatever, I'm not really interested. But then one day Ned decides that he wants to be what's he running for? I think a senator, and he's running as a Republican. So for him, it's very necessary to have, you know, the perfect family values, perfect wife, perfect daughter. So he starts going after them. And this part of the book was so painfully dull and, in my opinion, just really not done well. For one, and this is kind of similar to how I felt about Behind Closed Doors, the villain in this book, Ned, her husband, is just such a potato person. His character, his entire character, could have literally been replaced with a potato, and I wouldn't have noticed a difference. That's how dull he was. You know, if he's chasing her around the country, there should be some type of ominous sense throughout the book. You should feel threatened by him, but I never felt threatened once. He just was so boring. I never had one sense of dread whenever his character would appear, which was really weird. And there was just this strange juxtaposition of this really fascinating aspect of these words going through Anna's mind, and then this doofus Ned who's just bland man chasing after her that I didn't care about. And that aspect just felt like a really boring Lifetime movie that like you turn on and you're like, fine, I'll watch it because I've had a lot of boxed wine, but I'm not even really interested even though I've already drank a lot. So that was really frustrating, but in the end this book did have a really interesting idea, and I did really like the writing, so I think I might check out her stuff again. I don't know. So those were two psychological thrillers I read recently that I did not like. Please let me know if you've read any books recently you didn't like. But even if it's a book I recommended to you and you didn't like it, that's fine. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next Wednesday.